Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new here. I've got a really fun project for you today. I'm crafting with the beautiful fantasy collection by Simple Stories, and I'm going to make an album, like a shaped 3D-ish album, just using scissors, papers, paper trimmer, but you can just use scissors for that. So basically I wanted to make an album that's super easy to recreate, and you don't need any fancy tools for anything. So just grab your pen and paper, some chipboard, and so you see that little camera I've got there. So I wanted to make a really cute camera mini album. So I'm using it kind of as inspiration. The shape didn't end up to be like exactly the same as the camera, but it's fine because it's all handmade. And the camera itself, like the actual album towards the end, like you'll see that some of the pages aren't super straight and the corners aren't perfect, but you know what, it's all about making things by hand and not using any fancy tools, because sometimes you don't have these tools and it's okay and you can still create something cool. So you saw me cutting out two chipboard bases, which are going to be the front and back of my album. And I've gone off camera and stitched around the chipboard piece, which it ended up so wonky. I was actually kind of embarrassed because I know I can do better than that. But you know what? It's fine. It's handmade. It doesn't matter. And here I'm just trying to wrap my cardstock around the album, and because it was such a random and funny shape, I had to do it really slowly, bit by bit, and just try to like go around those like rounded corners as best as I could. It still doesn't look perfect, but I don't really care. So that took a while. It's definitely much easier doing a square chipboard frame, but because the camera I was, using as an example wasn't, the camera is in like a really odd shape, so I wanted my album to be in an odd shape as well. So I did both of the frames, and you can see my really wonky stitching, but I've kind of covered it up at the end, so it's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. The little thing I'm covering in chipboard here is going to be my spine. Because you can see me here kind of struggling with it because it's such a weird shape. I didn't really know how to attach the spine, but it still turned out okay at the end. When you're crafting and something doesn't turn out, just keep crafting. Maybe towards the end you can fix those little mistakes and it will look good. So that's what I've done. There were many times when I wanted to give up and start over again, but I thought, no, I'm gonna continue. I'll make this album to the end and I'll film it because I wanted you to see, the bits I'm struggling with, especially with the spine here, because it just would not stick and it was really awkward. And I ended up putting some clips on it just to keep it in place, but then I kind of ripped my paper and it was messy, but we covered it up and you'll see at the end. So here I'm cutting out layering pieces, in my funny shape, for the front and back of the album, and I completely forgot to stitch those elements and I'm so upset about it. Also, I forgot to add my ribbon closure because I usually add it to the chipboard and then add my layering piece on top, but I completely forgot, and that's fine. You can then just cover it up with something else, which you'll see later on when I show you a flip through. So what am I doing next? So now I'm going to use these circles by Simple Stories. They're from the Snap line, so they are just photo like frames, so you can trace your photos and cut them out, but I needed some circles for my camera lens and I ended up using them. And you can see I'm cutting them by hand, so they are definitely not perfect, but I found these photo frames. There are circles and there are also some squares. I find them so useful if you just need a basic shape and you don't have a die cutting machine and you need something in a specific size, because they actually have the size printed on top of them, which is really cool. So you can just use these. So you don't need a die cutting machine or an electronic die cutting machine. You can just cut them out by hand, have the perfect size, because you know all the sizes are on them. This thing I'm cutting right now turned out so wonky, but it's fine. I'm trying to fix it here. That's going to be like the outline of my camera lens, and of course I have to turn it into a shaker, because how could I not? I'm just using some thin acetate, stuck it down with some liquid glue. I find that easier to use, and it just lasts the longest, because sometimes double-sided adhesive can lose its stickiness. And I've used very skinny foam tape. It's by scrapbook.com and I love it. Add a couple of sequins of a mix I recently made, and it's the perfect camera lens. It is so cute, and you can't really see it now, but I'll show it to you in a bit. I did some stitching around that green striped bit, but yeah, it looks really cute. I'll show you at the end. And here I'm just cutting some more circles for some really cute little ears for the album. It's this really chunky glitter cardstock that I got from Hobby Lobby when I was over there in the States in June. It's so messy. My entire desk, my hands, my entire room, my entire house, even my cat, everything is now covered in glitter. But you know what? I love it, because I love glitter. It's really, really heavy cardstock, so when you stick two of them together, that's so sturdy and amazing. You can see how, you know, I want them to be placed. So now I'm working on the spine, but from the inside, what do you call it? The bit that holds your pages in place. So I'm just doing a basic like spine, sticking all of that together. I'm just using double-sided tape for that, and instead you'll see it in a bit. And usually if I do an album like that with a hidden hinge, that was the word I was looking for. I was looking for the word hinge. I would create the hinge, stick it into my album, and then add my pages. But because this was such an odd shape and all the pages were kind of in an odd shape as well, and I wanted to be able to trim around the corners because I know they're not perfect, I decided to do it this way. And you can also see me messing up now, because I actually added the first bit, the first page, the wrong way around. That's when I realized, oh, something is really wrong here. So yeah, I kind of ripped it out, and then I'm doing it properly. So I'm kind of deciding on the order of my pattern paper, and this is all paper from the collection. It is so pretty and pastel and just colorful and happy, and I love it. And now that I know that I need to do it this way, I can just stick all of the pages on to the hinges. And because I'm using two papers for each page, front and back, you can't actually see the hinge, which is really cool. And I'm using liquid glue just because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room if you've messed up, so you don't rip your paper. And yeah, last page, and then I'm gonna do some trimming because I cut these by hand. They're not all perfect. You know, I'm only human, so I'm just trimming all of the annoying bits that kind of stick out that I don't want there. Sure, you can just leave them in, but I needed them gone. So we are almost done with the album. Now we just need to stick our little pages cluster into the album and start decorating, and that's the fun bit. And I did that off camera because that's the bit that takes the longest usually. And here it is. I think it turned out so cute. You can't even see any of the mistakes I did, especially that wonky stitching on the bottom left corner, because we covered that up. I added some fur trim to the spines, to like the edges of the spines, because they were very messy. But it's okay, we can just cover that up with pretty things, and I think it looks really cute. And I've decorated the pages a little bit. You can see I've also added some seam binding for the closure, and to cover up the bit that's glued in, I just have a little bit of like a cutter part on them, so you can't see it. So any mistakes you ever do, just cover them up with something pretty and it will be fine. Hope you liked this album. Hope you liked seeing the process of me struggling with pen and paper, and I will see you next time. Bye!